Hey there, Jess from Make a Do Crew here, and I'd like to show you how to customize the fit of your hexagon cardigan by adding length to specific sides of your hexagon. In this tutorial, I'm assuming you've already made 2 hexagons. If you haven't yet, go back to the previous video and I'll show you how to do that. Now we're going to extend the sides to customize the fit of the bust. So you can see here, this hexagon has what we're calling a back extension. This peach row is the last part of the hexagon, and everything from here over is my extension. Over here I don't have that yet, but when I do, it will add about 6 inches of space in the back of the cardigan. Then some sizes will want to work a little bit of a front extension also. This is especially helpful if you have a larger chest and you want more coverage in the front. You can always try on your hexagons as you go though and decide exactly what fit is right for you. This tutorial is illustrating the concepts in my Campfire Cardigan pattern, which is linked below, but the main ideas here can be used to crochet a hexagon cardigan in any size using any stitch. The concepts are all the same. So you may be wondering why we don't just make a bigger hexagon, why we add these extensions instead. We want to increase the bust of the sweater without also increasing the circumference of the arms. So if we keep making a bigger hexagon, that will make a bigger bust, but it will also mean that the sleeves are as equally as wide as the body. And in larger sizes, that can get to be a really wide sleeve. So this allows you to get the perfect bust fit and still have a narrow enough sleeve that it feels like a natural proportion to the overall cardigan you're making. Because it can get disorienting on the sides of the hexagon, I like to label them. And as you see, they're pinned here, which means that this label for the side is a fixed position. It doesn't change. Side 4 is still side 4 no matter how I rotate my hexagon. So side 1 in this case is always where the round has begun and ended. So there's my yarn tail, that's 1, and then we're labeling them counterclockwise around like this, 1 through 6. Here's my diagram that shows the same thing, and a couple things to note if you're going to label your sides is that you'll want the right side of your hexagon facing up. The way I know this is the right side is because the center of it has the right side facing. So this very first round, that's the right side of it. Lastly, if you're left-handed, you're going to do the exact same thing. This is true whether you're left or right-handed. And this label here, this mention of right, refers to the right side of your body. So this is going to form the side of the cardigan you wear on the right side, and the one labeled left, that's going to form the side of the cardigan you wear on your left side. So if you haven't yet, pin some labels to your hexagon sides. All right, I've flipped these around now because this is the right side of my sweater as worn, so it would go on this right side of my body. And first you're gonna wanna add rows to what we're calling the back extension. So that's just this one single side of your hexagon. And in some ways, I think it's almost easier to see when I lay it out like this, because there's the line, the final round of my hexagon, that's this peach color here, and then I've got a little front strip here that is my front extension and a longer back strip here. So it is definitely looking weird at this point, but I know it's gonna come together. So if you like this idea of labeling your sides, you are gonna keep in mind that the right side of your cardigan, you're going to work the back extension alongside 3, and then it's just the exact opposite on the left side of your sweater. So your back extension is alongside 5, your front extension is alongside 3. And like I said, this is the same for both right and left-handed crocheters. If you ever get lost in geometry la land here, I really encourage you to just fold your hexagons into their L's and take inventory of where you're at. This will help prevent you from accidentally working your extensions on the wrong side and ending up, say, with 2 identical instead of a mirror image of each other. We're now switching from working in the round, where we went all the way around and joined at the end, to just working in rows. So we're going to go back and forth along one side. And it's really important to get your orientation correct as you're starting this. Just make sure when you're folding your hexagon that you have the right side facing out. This first round here, this is the right side of those stitches. So I want to make sure I'm alternating wrong and right side rows here. So that makes this, for me, this may be different for you, just based on how you modified your hexagon, but this means that this is a wrong side round for me. So With that in mind, I want to crochet here with the right side row, although that does not change what side I'm working along. This is where the labels can come in really handy because I need to work along this side. It's just about where I'm attaching my yarn. So because this is the bumpy side of double crochet here, I know this is the back and I'm right-handed, so I'm going to attach my yarn in this corner so that I can start working my stitches across right here. When I'm starting a row with a new color in a circumstance like this, I like to just begin with a slip knot on my hook. So I'm making a loose slip knot, popping my hook in there, tightening it down, but still not making it super tight. And then I can insert my hook wherever I need to add the color and start the row. So we're working between this corner here and this corner here, nowhere else in this extension. So I'm going to insert my hook in the corner and then pull up a slip stitch and pull it through. And then that way I can just tighten it down like that. If you remember from working the hexagon, we are working in clusters of 3 double crochet separated by a chain 1 space, 3 more double crochet, chain 1 space. So we're going to follow the same pattern. In every space, we're going to work double crochet cluster. So this corner is going to count as our first space. And because I'm starting a row, I'm going to chain 3. And that will count as our first double crochet. This is exactly what we did in the hexagon. I like to make these chain stitches pretty tight because I think they're better disguised that way. So once I have 3, then I'm going to do 2 double crochets in the same corner space. And that will count then as my first cluster. Okay, so we've got 1 there. Now I need to chain 1 and I can now put 3 double crochet in my next space. Is that looking pretty familiar now? We've got our chain 1 space, another set of 3 double crochet. So now I can just chain 1. And we're going to repeat that pattern in every space until we get to the corner at the end of this side. So let's work on that and I'll meet you back here. If you have found this tutorial helpful, I would love it if you clicked that like button and subscribed to our channel so that you're sure to catch our future easy sweater tutorials. Now we're coming upon this corner, so this is at the end of this side. I've only worked 1 side here and it's time for me to put the last cluster in this corner. So just like always, I'm going to chain 1 and then I just need to put 3 double crochets in that corner. And that is going to serve as the end of our row here. So if you're like me, you want to weave in ends till you die, fasten off. If not though, you can just keep your yarn attached and then do what I'm about to show you for row 2. I've got my next color here, a slip knot on my hook. So because this was the right side row, this was the end, I'm gonna flip this over. If you didn't fasten off, then just flip your work over, you're still gonna have the same yarn attached. But because I'm changing colors, I have this new color here and I'm just gonna do what I did before, where I insert my hook in the last stitch, slip stitch through that slip knot, and then fasten it down. So again, this is where it can be a little loosey-goosey and you just need to kind of hold both of them as you work your first stitch. Whether you changed colors or you're still using the same color, we're all going to do the same thing now, which is to chain 4. So this chain 3 is our first double crochet, and then we're chaining 1 more because that counts as our chain 1 space. Now we're going to skip this entire cluster and start working our first official cluster in this space. So I'm going to put 3 double crochet there. We've got our first double crochet, our first chain 1 space, and then our first cluster. So we're going to chain 1, work our next cluster in here, and we're going to work all the way till the end of this side again. We're going to meet back up right over here and talk about how to finish this row. Now that we've reached the end of this side, we're going to end it just like we started it, with a double crochet. So at the end of this cluster, I'm going to chain 1, and then I just need to double crochet in the top of this turning chain. So it was my chain 3 from the previous row, and I'm going to add 1 more double crochet there. At this point, I've completed 2 rows of the extension. So this is row 1 and this is row 2, and we're just going to repeat these 2 rows until you get the length of extension that you need. So in my case here, I fastened off my yellow because I'm going to change colors again. I would turn this over. To start row 3, I would attach my yarn right here, and then just as we did To start this row, I would work 3 chains, put 2 more double crochet in this space. That would be my first cluster, then a chain 1, then another cluster, then a chain 1, another cluster, all the way to the end of the row, where I would be able to work, just like we did here, 1 cluster in our last space. So as you're working your extensions, there's a couple important things to get right. First is the placement of them. The other thing to keep in mind is just to make sure that you work the same number of rows for the right and left side. So if you choose to make a back extension that is 3 rows wide, on the left, you want to do the exact same thing on the right. Otherwise, you're going to end up with an off-balance sweater. Once your extension rows are complete, it's really helpful and exciting to pin your hexagons into a cardigan shape and try them on. I like to use stitch markers for this. You can pin along the top of the sleeve here, same on the other side, and then pin them along the back, and then just check out the fit. If you find that it's not working for your particular body yet, you may decide to add a few more rows to the bust if you'd like more coverage there. If you want a tighter fitting sweater, you may eliminate a couple of the rows of the back extension to make the bust smaller. In general, this is the moment to really customize the fit, because in the next video, we're going to cover how to join your hexagons together and then customize the length. Until then, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next video, and happy crocheting!